Good morning in Europe and good afternoon in Asia. A warm welcome to this interactive webinar. My name is Paul Broekhuizen and I'm the Global Director for Smart Industries. And let me introduce Mika, our Product Line Director for RFID products, to you as well. Mika will take you through this webinar regarding the ecotags for industrial applications. We are recording this webinar about this ecotags for industries, and it will be made available on Confidex and on Beontag websites for your convenience or to forward to your colleagues or customers in a later stage. Also, a link to this recording will be sent to you via email. And in this webinar, we do a deep dive why ecotags, plastic-free structure, is a better sustainable solution compared to standard PET type of RFID labels. During the webinar, you have the option to raise questions in the Q&A section. They will be answered at the end of the webinar. And if you're not able to answer that in the webinar, we will do that afterwards and we will post it in our website as well. As you most probably know, is Confidex since April last year part of Beontag, an international company supporting customers in their digital transformation journey. Beontag has a long track record in manufacturing self-adhesives, label materials, and RFID products with its origin in Brazil. To support customers globally, Beontag acquired in the last 2 years several RFID technology companies, mainly based in Europe, like RFID in Italy, Digital France, Confidex in Finland, and the Ecotag from Stora Enso in Finland as well. Beontag is structured in 2 global business units. One is the graphics and label materials, or we call it GLM, producing self-adhesives and label stock materials. The second business unit globally is Digital Transformation Enabler, or DTE, with a broad portfolio of RFID products supporting industrial, retail, and smart city applications. With operations in more than 20 countries and 5 dedicated DTE manufacturing locations or RFID manufacturing locations in Brazil, Finland, Italy, China, and by the end of this year, also in the United States of America. It supports RFID manufacturing as close as possible to our customers to keep supply chains as short as possible and mitigate on any supply chain risks in the future. To support the growth ambitions of Beontag and the growing demand in specifically retail RFID applications, Beontag invested the last years massively in expanding the RFID manufacturing capacity globally. With a capacity of 5 billion RFID tags and a capacity of 2.3 billion ecotags, we are ready for this future. Let's zoom in a bit on the DTE markets. Important to mention is that Beontag has the broadest range of RFID products in the market, from industrial tags, retail and apparel labels to smart city applications. A third market entry that we have is exclusivity, where we make solutions for the high-end fashion industries like Prada, Moncler, in product authentication. And the last one is our payments division, where we make inlays and chips for credit cards. Now I hand over to Mika, who will educate us a bit more on ecotags for industrial applications.
Thank you, Paul, for the introduction, and welcome all also on my behalf. Nice to see such a good participation again. Before we dive into the eco-technology, I wanted to briefly talk about sustainability in general. When it kind of comes hand in hand with the eco-technology, often being one of those drivers for customers to move to eco from traditional PET RFID inlays. But before going into the actual slides, I'd like to introduce a quick poll regarding this topic. Soon you will see a pop-up window with the question that what makes RFID tag sustainable for you? There is no correct answer here, as sustainability can be a different thing for all of us. But with this poll, we would like to learn a bit more that what do you think about this topic? So please pick the top 2 for you from the options. What makes RFID tag sustainable for you? Is it plastic-free, reusability with long lifetime? This can be, for example, several years. Is it compensated carbon footprint, improvements in your process efficiency, which of course contributes to the sustainability? Is it recycled materials in use, or ESG goals of tag supplier, meaning that the supplier is taking sustainable development goals seriously and have a ESG strategy in place? I will give you still a few more seconds. There's six options to choose from. Let's see if anyone picked the choice 7. No one did. That was a test for you. I can see that the results are quite evenly split actually, and I'm not too surprised. As I said, sustainability is a different thing for all of us. I see reusable with long lifetime is the clear number 1, with plastic free coming as a second. And that's also nice to see. This fits perfectly into Beontag portfolio, as we do have very robust hard tags that are designed to be used for a decade. And we do have a plastic free tags in our offering that we will talk a bit more today. Let's close the poll and jump into the actual topic. At first, I would like to start a bit higher level when it comes to sustainability. We all are aware of the term ESG. We hear that already daily basis, which is of course great because it is a super important topic. But what does ESG actually stand for? I'm pretty sure there are people joining us today that would not be able to name those letters right away, at least. So let's give this a minute. Quite often, sustainability is considered being only related to eco-friendliness, something to do with the environment, nature, recycling, climate changes, all that, which are, of course, very important topics. But it is also good to remember that environment is just the E of ESG. It's only one part of that. The other 2 parts in doing business based on ESG are also considering social and corporate governance aspects when it comes to organizations' commitment to sustainability. Social aspects, they address how company treats different groups of people, employees, customers, suppliers, community members, for example. This can be workplace health and safety, fair pay for employees, customer satisfaction, data protection. There's a lot of aspects to consider related to the people. And governance factors defines how the company runs itself, focusing on internal controls and best practices to maintain compliance with regulations and policies, for example. These things like ethical business practices and board diversity, to name some. How do you then set the goals for your ESG strategy? One way to do this is to look, for example, the Global Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, defined by United Nations. There are a lot of goals, and not all of them are something that you should look into once. But to pick the ones that where you can actually make an impact with your business. I will not dive deeper into these different goals, but just wanted to show you or remind you about the framework of these sustainable development goals. And this takes us also into how RFID is helping you with this task. How does RFID enable SDG-driven projects? Out of those 17 different goals, I have picked some examples here how RFID as a technology can make a big impact on sustainability. All these are real customer projects that we are running today. We have company in Italy, for example, tracking life-saving ventilators with RFID, and one using smart storage for medication, all increasing patient safety. SDG number 3, good health and well-being. Number 9, industry innovation and infrastructure. For this, we have, of course, tons of good examples, but for instance, in Netherlands, we are tracking train wagons to monitor the condition and location of the rolling stock. This is increasing passenger safety. Number 11, sustainable cities. We have more than 100 cities where we deliver RFID-based mass transportation tickets to improve the efficiency of public transport. There are also a lot of cities using toll collection systems built with RFID, improving free flow, kind of reducing the disruptions in the traffic, also increasing sustainability of the cities. Number 13, climate actions. Shipping industry is a big contributor in the greenhouse gas emissions, and every tag that is used to improve the efficiency of logistics and supply chain is contributing to this climate action SDG. It's amazing number of how many unnecessary shipments there are made due to the picking errors and wrong shipments. With RFID, majority of those could be eliminated, and there are already a lot of companies doing this today. We could go on and on with this list, but I just wanted to give you some real examples and highlight the fact that RFID as a technology is already a very sustainable technology in itself by helping companies to achieve their own sustainability goals. What is then the ESG strategy of Beontag? As said, RFID already is helping companies to meet the goals, but we are also helping our partners and customers to achieve the SDGs by offering more sustainable product options to replace the traditional plastic RFID tags. This contributes into the SDG 17 partnerships for the goals. And when it comes to RFID tags in general, we have set quite ambitious target to remove all our waste, but also that 70% of our products in 2030 will be paper-based sustainable RFID products. And this heavily contributes in responsible production, but also other SDGs as we are reducing the use of plastics. We also have set goals for gender equality as shown here. So what is then this eco-technology that we have been talking about? Let's take a deeper look on that. On this slide, we have eco-tag structure explained. With eco, we are basically eliminating standard PET substrate, adhesive between antenna and substrate, as well as the need for a separate paper layer with adhesive that is used for the printing to make the standard PET label printable. Eco uses paper as a substrate already for the antenna, and therefore it's printable already in its most simple format without adding any additional layers. Just antenna on a printable paper, single layer type of structure. How does this different structure then in practice affect the greenhouse gas emissions? Here we see a comparison of standard PET label against eco tag. In a nutshell, we see less than half CO2, carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. That's 2.1 grams per tag. A lot of this is coming from the reduced amount of layers, less harmful materials, and lower emissions during the production processes, but also from the fact that with eco we can produce antenna closer to the other production processes. For example, eliminating antenna shipments from Asia to the location of converting, which can be in US or Europe or anywhere. You can have antenna production, IC attachment, and converting all done under the same roof. And by taking the whole process closer to the customer, we could even reduce the CO2 number from here by reducing the needed shipments. In other and probably more understandable numbers, by using 1,000 eco tags instead of standard PET inlays, we are saving the plastics worth 15 PET bottles. This might not sound a lot, 15 bottles. But if we look at the total RFID market of 30 billion RFID tags annually, this means we are generating plastic waste worth 400 million PET bottles as an industry. So there is the motivation why we are as a company pushing RFID industry into more sustainable products with fully plastic-free options. Also, something that I want to highlight here from this slide is that the production process is fully additive, meaning that there is zero waste generated during the production of EcoTag, which is not the case with all other paper-based RFID technologies in the market. Read range, that is always in the discussions with paper-based RFID technologies, and that is because in the past, those were often significantly less performing compared to PET inlays using aluminum antennas. But today with Eco, we have now reached a performance level where we can state that customer will not see a difference. There we have same 94 times 24 millimeter inlay compared as PET and Eco products. In accurate lab measurements, we do see there a tiny difference, but in real life, other variables start to affect so much that this kind of difference cannot really be seen in the field anymore. The full lines there are measured on cardboard and dotted lines are measured on plastic. And we can see that the green Eco dotted line is almost hidden under the PET line there. So there's basically not even a theoretical difference between the products on plastic in this case. Reliability concerns are another topic often raised. Now we have to remember that we are talking about paper-based product here. So if you're planning to run the tag through industrial washing processes, then Eco is not a product for you. We do have other product options in our portfolio for that kind of use cases. For example, the Carrier family is a perfect fit for washable RTIs. In terms of reliability, we use the same accelerated aging tests for Eco as what the industry uses for PET. This means 85 Celsius, 85% relative humidity for 1 week, as well as temperature cycle test, in where we have actually extended the amount of cycles from the standard. In addition to these, we also have customers that have run their own temperature humidity test for even up to 1,000 hours. And the tags did survive that. So reliability is there. Another special feature of Eco is that it is actually tamper-proof by nature. We talk about paper inlay here, and after you have attached the label with antenna facing the item, it's not possible to remove it in one piece without breaking the antenna. So you kind of get the tamper evidence feature for free. With Eco, which is not the case with the PET inlay. So this can be handy in some applications. Some other product features on this next slide. They are all printable with standard thermotransfer ribbons, just like normal RFID, PET, RFID labels, with a structure where we don't need to add another paper layer for the face. We are actually having a bit thinner structure also. And this also affects the cost of shipments, as you can pack more labels into a same box compared to PET. Recycling is always a question, and we have separate document to share for this, but Eco tags can be recycled in normal paper and cardboard recycling processes. If you take only the dry inlay without adhesive, that's biodegradable. And by combining that with some special adhesives, we could make also the final label to be biodegradable if needed. Scalability, we already touched a bit. It's much easier to set up a Eco antenna line than traditional aluminum etching line. And for this reason, for example, we as Beontag are already building antenna production capabilities in several countries. On this slide, we have the main Eco tags shown. There are a lot more, of course, also, but this is kind of our go-to portfolio that covers most of the needs from our customers. Those special products that are not included here can, for example, be having a omnidirectional antennas or resistance against microwave processes, different dimensions, or some other special features. I will not go into details of the products here, but something to note, because with RFID, the performance comes with the footprint. And if you're looking for the best possible read range for your supply chain, for example, I would recommend starting with our Eco Bumper product here. You see up to 18 meters read ranges with that product. And if you're looking for smaller tag, for example, for automotive parts tracking, then the one at the bottom, Hook M, with 42 times 70 millimeter antenna is a very capable option and popular product for that application. Eco Bale is specifically designed for pulping process and is compliant with strict requirements they have in terms of materials put into the pulping process. In here, we don't have any higher memory VDA compliant chips shown, but that is also an option and something we are able to offer if needed. Next, we will take a look on few use cases where eco tags can be used within industrial applications. Of course, retail and apparel in terms of quantities are still very common and most popular applications for eco technology, but there's a lot of use cases in industrial space also. And the first one here is related to automotive supply chain and container management. We have a German OEM that is using e-Kanban labels for improved inventory control and just-in-time deliveries. The traditional Kanban card system has been in use already for the past 70 years in automotive. But with e-Kanban, we are now RFID enabling those standardized Kanban cards. Now we also see this tag selection criteria picture in the middle. I'm using this here to indicate a bit what were the key requirements for this project to success. And from these product considerations to product requirements, it might sound like this kind of a simple paper label would not have too many requirements. But when you add there certain printers and applicators that you need to be compliant with, VDA recommendations for the dimensions, attachment method, which in this case is this kind of a card type of product without any adhesive, and a read range to ensure reading also in this smart shelf application that you see in the top picture. You actually end up ticking almost all of the boxes from the requirements. Only the environment is the one that was not highlighted by the customer. But on the other hand, that's of course also considered in terms of choosing paper materials instead of plastics because of the easier environment that they had in their process. And next, we have a global freight airline customer who was using barcodes earlier to identify the air cargo. With barcodes, you can imagine it was pretty labor intensive to scan the packages in the facility. With this kind of shipping label applications, we see RFID quite often being compared to barcodes, and there are of course very clear benefits of using RFID. For example, quite obvious no line of sight needed, reading in mass volume, high speed, hundreds in seconds. Nowadays with overhead readers, we can also achieve pretty good locationing of the packages when needed, just to name some benefits of RFID over the barcodes. With the help of RFID and overhead antennas, this customer was also able to pinpoint misplaced packaging inside the warehouse. Size was also an important criteria for them, as they wanted to stick to existing barcode printing layout of standard 4x6 shipping label. And this customer also had pretty specific requirements on the format of the label, as you can see from the top picture. For example, the perforation on the liner. So we made a customized variant of our product using our design studio service. We obviously always prefer selling standard products, but customizing existing products is something that we do still quite a lot, and especially for the industrial customers. As a third example, we have fabrics company that was struggling with the inventory visibility. Pretty standard RFID application. They were able to improve the visibility and also mitigate those shipping errors that we already talked about by attaching RFID label onto the cores of the fabric reels. This is also a nice example of application where a customer is using what we call a master tag. In addition to tracking the reels, the customer is also using a hard tag from Confidex and Beontag to track the metallic racks that can link the information of the cores on that specific rack in their database into the rack ID. This is also something you might want to consider if you have a challenging items to be tagged like liquids or metals that are difficult to read on a pallet. The process could be designed, for example, in a way that when the individual packages are read and packed on the pallet, the information is stored and combined into this so-called master tag for the future use. So there is no need to read every single item on that pallet during every single step of the supply chain. And this takes us into our Q&A section today.
Yes, thank you, Mika, for this deep dive in the ecotech. We have some questions already from the audience in our Q&A session, so we try to answer as much as possible. But one or multiple questions, basically they come to the same question, and that is, how can I get samples of your ecotags? Well, basically quite simple. You can get in contact with your sales manager or just drop a small email to Mika or myself. Our email addresses is in the last page, which you see here. And then we will make sure that you get a sample package of ecotags. Another question, I think that's more for you, Mika, is the CO2 emissions for IC attachments was marked to be significantly lower for eco than for PAT. Why is that? Are you using some special equipment to achieve this?
Good idea. We are using actually exactly the same process as standard RFID IC attachment, which means the machines are already proven and well available, so there's no secrets there. From where the difference comes from is that we are using a different type of adhesive to attach the IC on the antenna, and this eliminates certain materials that the standard ACP used to attach IC on an antenna is having. So this is resulting in the lower emissions for the IC attachment process with the eco compared to PET.
All right. One other question from the audience related to our Confidex products like the Crosswave Neo. So would it be possible or would it be good if the Crosswave Neo series would be available in eco as a standard option? So my question would be, is there an eco option available compared to the Crosswave Neo from Confidex?
We do have an omnidirectional version for the eco also, and this is something that was not on the list of the standard products, for example, but we can get back to that if you, Hilke, if you reach out to us and we can talk about that a bit more.
All right. I think we have time for one last question. If there are more questions, then we will answer them also by our website and by email. What is the expected maximum lifetime of a sticker or eco label?
That's a good question, also very difficult to answer because it really relates to the use case. So as said, we have tested this with the standard accelerated aging test with the same standard as PET labels. So it's definitely years, but quite rarely paper-based stickers are used in applications where you would need a lifetime of years. For those, there's often also more harsh environments involved, and I would recommend other product families that we have in our catalog.
All right. And then one last question. is there any possibility of eco tags for on-metal labels?
There are possibilities. We don't have such, actually, sorry, we do have a flag tag type of product in our portfolio. So that is a product we can already offer today. So if you reach out to us, we can share more information about that. We don't have this kind of foam-based on-metal labels that some people consider being the category for the on-metal, because there's anyway some plastics needed, so those cannot really be fully plastic-free. But this flag tag type of product that we have in our portfolio, that is fully plastic-free and works very well on metal. So we can share you more information about that after the webinar.
Okay. Well, thank you all for attending this webinar on our EcoTech for industries. If you have any questions or sample requests, let us know and we will follow up on that with you directly. As mentioned, a recording of this webinar will be, a link will be sent to you later this week. So to share or to look backward, what was the webinar all about. Once again, thank you very much for attending, and hopefully we see you all in the next webinar.